Hello and good morning. Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen. And should I say happy Black Ops 6 release day? That is right, ladies and gentlemen. Black Ops 6 has jumped into early access. It's sitting right over there. And you know how many matches I have played? Not a single lick, not one match. It's literally been on the screen and just taunting me for the last hour because I'm doing real life stuff. And well, the real life stuff takes precedent. But listen, ladies and gentlemen, we have an absolutely outstanding show. We're going to be getting into Black Ops 6. Unfortunately, I can't tell you how good it is. I can tell you how I played the beta, and I played it very limited because I knew what I was going to be getting. So I'm very excited to go in there kind of a bit blind a little bit. But we're going to be getting into whether or not Black Ops 7 will be taking down Battlefield 6 like they have done in many, many head-to-heads in previous years. We're also going to be talking about the potential of an OEM device showing up at the Game Awards, because as we continue to crawl through November, as we're getting closer to Thanksgiving here in the States, once December 1st hits, it's a race to the end of the year. For the holidays, there's Kwanzaa, there's Hanukkah, there's Christmas. Everyone's excited, but in like the second week of that month, we have the Game Awards, and this year we don't have any ideas. There's been no real leaks about what's going to be shown. I mean, listen, whether you like Jeff Keighley or you don't, the guy puts on a great show, and the Game Awards are a pretty big program, and it gets bigger and bigger each and every year with the millions of people that tune in for it. I think there's an opportunity here for Xbox. We're going to talk about Xbox on what they've done so far this year and why it would be a really nice bookend to show up there. And I have some thoughts and some theories, but Crispy Bomb, good morning, kind sir. How the heck are you feeling?
Feeling good. Like I told Boom, I went and saw Bert Kreischer last night, and he is one funny dude. And yeah, just ready to talk some gaming. So let's get into it.
Absolutely. It's funny because I know that I'm hungry because for some reason, the chair that Fuzzy's sitting in, I saw pizzas for a second. So I don't know what happened, but Fuzzy Belvedere, how are you feeling now? Are you frozen? Because you look a little frozen there. Can you hear us, sir?
I can hear you guys, but I see that my camera is frozen here for whatever reason. Ever since I've updated to Windows 11, it seems like just random things happen. But I'm doing good. I may have to log out and then log back in to get everything working again. Strange, but glad to be here with you guys. And the pillow behind me, it has like little circles, so it looks like kind of like pepperoni on it.
Yes, so I thought pizzas because I'm on my jaw, as my wife would say. I didn't think pepperoni. I thought the whole pizza, but that's pretty good stuff. All right, brother. So listen, you know what? Back out, shut everything down, reset, and then we'll see you back here in a hot second.
All right, I'll be right back.
All right, no sweat. So Fuzzy's going to take his exit stage left for now, and I'm here with Crispy Bomb. Crispy, look. Okay, so you know what? I want to hold off on the conversation about what I think is going to happen, later next month. And we're going to be segueing into a story that made the rounds yesterday where the Xbox Ally X is sold out in a lot of locations. And every time they get it in, it is being sold out. Now, granted, I've seen some thought-provoking conversation about Best Buy being their partner, and you can buy this at other retailers. That is true. So it is selling out in a lot of other places as well. But their main partner, besides Xbox in the creation of this thing, was, of course, Best Buy, at least here in the States. I know that Nico Muller, a big member of the X community or the Twitter community, who consistently talks about, gaming, finally got his. So shout out to Nico. Congratulations, brother. I know you've been waiting a long time. But, as we wait for Fuzzy, Crispy Bomb, let's talk Black Ops 7. Because right now, as it stands, I'm all about that. So here it is. Oh, Silent Cypher is joining us. I thought his PC was dead. he might be joining us, ladies and gentlemen. Let's see if it loads in here, because he did send me a message saying that he might actually be out, and I just see a spooling circle, which is never a good sign. There he is. What's going on, Sound Cypher? Your PC decided to be agreeable this morning. How are you feeling?
Maybe. Can you hear me?
We can hear you just fine. The voice is just as out as always.
Well, thank goodness. Yeah, I woke up this morning, booted up my system to a horrible error message that said it wasn't recognizing my CPU. So I managed to do some quick troubleshooting, and I guess we're good to go for now. Apparently, I got to do something with this thing in the back end. So,
well, you know what? I mean, again, nobody wants to upgrade their stuff in 2025 because everything's so bloody expensive. But you know, Black Friday is around the corner. Maybe you can catch a sale of 3 and, you know, upgrade that CPU, whatever. But we're happy to have you here. We have a couple of topics to get into. I don't know how much of a fan are you of Black Ops, or specifically Call of Duty. But the question that we're going to be asking is whether or not Black Ops 7 is going to take down Battlefield 6, as they've done in many, many head-to-head battles, all puns intended, in previous years. You know, Battlefield 3, phenomenal game. Battlefield 4, phenomenal game. The next 3, not really so much. So those were easy wins or W's for any Call of Duty that came before it. But Battlefield 6 still is getting played. People are enjoying it. It is a very visceral type of shooter. It is not Call of Duty. They are really two ends of the spectrum. But Crispy Bomb, let's talk Black Ops 7 for a second, because as it stands today, and this is a pretty incredible stat, the highest selling game on PlayStation 5 today, as if you go and you look at the numbers at 10:08 on Friday on November 14th, is Black Ops 6. So in the 5 years that the PlayStation 5 has been around, the number one selling game is Black Ops 6, which is insane. Now, number 2 is very impressive. I did not know, but Spider-Man 2 at number 2, surprisingly enough. As a matter of fact, I believe Sony has, I think, 3 of their first-party games in the best top-selling list of 10. The 10 best-selling, it might be the top 20. They have 3 of their own, which is pretty impressive, right? Because obviously, you know, we've seen many times before that a lot of people don't buy the first-party games. It's just a fact. But to see that, you know, Spider-Man is up there, that's really good for them, because Spider-Man 2 is a phenomenal game. But Crispy, I want to go right to you on this. Black Ops 7 has come out today. I would imagine there's going to be a lot of people playing through early access. There is of course, day one downloadable for free, if you want to use that term, on Xbox Game Pass. There is a $30 upgrade fee to the Vault Edition, which is their $100 edition. And I did that. I gladly did it. And it's going to be very interesting to see the numbers. I know that if you look at what Battlefield did in regards to its concurrent numbers on Steam, they were like outrageous numbers. I don't know if that's going to happen here with Black Ops 7, because Black Ops 7 has moved into the future a little bit. So now you're fighting cyborgs again. And I got to be honest with you, the last time we did that, there was one that you went into outer space, which was insane. But you also flew planes, like starfighters out in space, which I hope they bring back at some point, because that was pretty dope. And I know Jamie Moran talks about that. He tweets about that freaking all the time. But let's circle the wagons, so to speak. How big do you think Black Ops 7 is not only going to be on Xbox, but on PlayStation? I do think that this game, in the lead up to the end of the year, which of course is December 31st, 2025, I think it will be the best-selling game. And considering that Xbox, or more specifically Microsoft Corporation, owns Activision, they are going to be making a lot of money. Now, the money part does not mean anything to me. I can honestly care less about the money, but it does make you wonder if, later on at some point, do they try to get another Call of Duty-esque game from a publisher into their array of games? Because obviously Bethesda being a part of Xbox is big, but Activision being a part of Xbox is even bigger, simply because, one, you're going to see a significant amount of new subs to Xbox Game Pass, which happened last year, and you're going to see outrageous sales on PlayStation 5. It is going to be the best place, or at least the best selling for sure, because of simply having near 84 million consoles, and Call of Duty is still a big draw. Let's get your thoughts on this, brother.
I mean, it's Call of Duty. It's kind of like when Madden comes out or anything else. Like, people love it. I mean, me, it's been a long time since I've really gotten into Call of Duty. Right now, all I'm seeing is people either not like the campaign or like the campaign. It seems to be pretty brief if you want it to be. I mean, COD is about multiplayer, so I haven't seen really anybody saying a whole lot about that, which is probably a good thing, because usually if people don't like that, then they start yelling. But we'll see. We'll see very soon. Is this going to help Game Pass more or not? I guess we'll find out. Is it going to affect sales? I mean, I doubt it, because there's going to be plenty of people playing it on PlayStation. You got to buy it. So that said, I'm going to be pretty brief and say I'll wait and see. I think Arc Raiders would be the one to maybe take away more than Battlefield at this point. It just seems like one of those viral games right now, getting a lot of Helldivers vibe from it, because the way I'm going through, any like short form video, a lot of it is Arc Raiders. It's not really getting me to buy it because I have enough to play, but it definitely feels like that is going to be the game that maybe affects the sales more than Battlefield. And since Arc Raiders just recently came out, I think people might go to that more than, either of those two. So that's my thoughts on it. At the end of the day, it's gonna sell. It's gonna sell a lot. We'll see if it's, on par with, 6, or it's more or less. I mean, we'll find out. And like I'd say, by the beginning of December, you're going to know if the campaign, because it seems to be polarizing people, if it's, turning people off or not. But if the multiplayer's there, I mean, people are going to pick it up.
Well, I mean, you still have zombies. There's a new zombie mode. There's co-op. There is. I've only seen some people, comparing Black Ops 7 to something like, I don't know, Arkham Knight. Yeah, I know you're gonna be like, what are you talking about? No spoilers here, folks. There's some weird boards. I don't know if it's some sort of hallucination, because you got to remember, if we don't have the context of what is happening, it's going to seem like, oh man, they jumped a shark on this one. Listen, Black Ops has, outside of the one that released as multiplayer only, and back then I wasn't a multiplayer guy, so I was like, F that, I'm not buying it, and I didn't. I've never played it. I still think it's going to be a draw. Is it going to be polarizing, like you said, compared to 6? Because 6 was very, 1980s, Reagan and all that kind of stuff. And we'll see. I'm going to play through it. I actually, believe it or not, have to play through Black Ops 6's campaign. I sadly only got a quarter through. I got hooked with the multiplayer and I never looked back, which is unbelievable for me because I'm a single player dude. I usually run through it on normal and then I try to beat it on one of the harder levels. I usually try not the hardest, because that is one shot you're down. Usually it's the one right under and there's an achievement for it. So I try to get that. I got to get back to it. The problem is that there are too many games, ladies and gentlemen. That's ultimately the problem of 2025. I know, not real world issues, sure, but too many bloody games. But good stuff all around, Crispy Bomb. Let's bring in Silent Cypher. Get your thoughts on this, because look, Black Ops 7 is going to be a big seller. I think that there are. See, I don't have the stats in front of me, so I don't want to sound like a boob. I don't know how much the audience has shrank from the single player campaign to playing multiplayer. The one thing I can say, as now an addicted Call of Duty multiplayer guy, I love it. I go through every season. I max out. Like I said, for the first time since like the 360, I prestige to the highest level. I think right now I'm prestige on 117 on Black Ops 6. So now, of course, I got to start all over again with Black Ops 7. And that was a lot of work, folks. I mean, you see it in almost all my videos that I do, and usually when I don't have a big panel that's playing in the background, that's because I record a lot of footage. I really love it, but I'm also really good. As you can see, the kills are the kills. But I'm looking forward to this. I don't know if a wacky-esque, tripped out campaign is going to ruin it for a lot of people, because I think that's what it is. I don't think that it is that they've jumped the shark, but again, I don't have the context because I don't know. It's literally sitting over here playing. I'm just not playing it. Let's get your thoughts. Do you think that Black Ops 7, even though it's coming out in November with only another 2 weeks left of this month and 4 weeks left of December, so it's you got 6 or 7 weeks give or take for this game, it's probably going to be the best-selling game, and I actually think it has a real shot to outdo even Battlefield, which looks great, just not for me. What are your thoughts, man?
Yeah, it's hard to say how this is going to resonate with people specifically, because like you said, obviously it's a little different. This is not our usual Call of Duty. When you mentioned Arkham Asylum, I was scratching my head for a second because I was like, what's he talking about? But then as you were mentioning the drug thing, yeah, so yes, I agree with you totally. So I actually I took a flight to New Zealand yesterday and played some Call of Duty early.
Good for you. The weather's nice there, I heard.
Dude, it's so great. It's so great. Watch out for the drop bears, but but no, it was from what I've played so far, it's cool. I do have criticism a little bit so the campaign thing is kind of a weird thing this year, right? Because the whole thing is it's supposed to be a co-op campaign. So when I jumped into it, my thought was I was just going to click campaign. I was going to jump right in and just start a story. That's not what this is. You click the co-op campaign and it brings you into a lobby, just like if you were playing multiplayer.
Oh,
and
wow.
You're going into it in a different way. Like it doesn't just boot up a campaign like it has in the past. So that was kind of weird because I didn't feel like there was any button right on the screen that was like, hey, press A to start or anything. Like it didn't feel super intuitive when I first jumped in, and I was kind of confused, like, what the hell am I doing? Like I thought maybe there was a co-op campaign menu, and then there was also just campaign if you were doing solo. Not the case. But when I started it, I definitely see what you're talking about, and there is some sort of chemical or something that gets released, and suddenly you're in Arkham Asylum land where like there's a bunch of stuff around you that is maybe there, maybe not there. You're getting bounced to like these weird locations. It's interesting so far. I don't mind the fact that it's kind of a funky take on Call of Duty and that it's got like this weird narrative going on. I think it's kind of cool. I think more than anything, the co-op campaign thing kind of messed with me because I literally had to meet up. Like it had to set me up with 3 other people so we could all go in, because that's how it sets you up.
That is disappointing.
Yeah, and that is not what I'm personally looking for when I'm jumping into a Call of Duty campaign. We'll see how it turns out and how I like it as I continue on. But my initial impressions of that, it was a little off-putting because it's not what I'm used to with a Call of Duty campaign. But from what I can tell so far, seems interesting. I don't know how it's going to be. Like it's hard enough for most of us guys to get together in an evening and play some Call of Duty together. So inevitably I'm going to be playing mostly with randos, which it worked last night. The people I got hooked up with could hold their own. Things were good. But I mean, inevitably, you're going to get the guy that's sitting over there in the corner that takes a break to go get a sandwich from the kitchen, or and the problem is it's all based on all 4 people getting to the certain checkpoints, right? So like if
Oh
you
boy,
complete a
yep.
fight or something, you got to get over to this gate. Now you're going to have to wait for some knucklehead that decided to go take a pee break or, whatever, potentially. You're going to have to wait until that guy comes back and gets over to the gate with you so you can cue the next cutscene. So it's weird. Again, at this time, it's a little bit too early, I guess, for me to have my full opinion on it, but it's
Okay, I mean, that's fair.
it's a little weird for my liking. For the multiplayer feels really good. I did notice some hitching early on. I think there was just some lag on the servers. Seems like it's cleaned up a little bit. I will say though, I don't know if it's
real quick. Marino 2188 said you can turn off squad fill off and go solo in campaign.
Oh, okay. So if that's the case, then that's awesome.
Yeah, sorry for interrupting, but I want to, because this chat goes super quick. I just wanted to kind of make. I'm going to check that out because again, I'm looking at what like the screen is right here, and I see co-op campaign. I'm like, what's happening? So shout out to Moreno 2188 for the info. I did not know you can do that, but now we do.
Yeah. So that must be like once you actually go into the co-op lobby, it's probably a setting in there then, because I didn't see anything outside of that. So yeah,
well, their menus are confusing as F anyway. So
yeah, it doesn't feel like there's a lot of detail. Like I'm not even finding much to change the brightness and stuff. Like I went to a spot and it gives me an HDR brightness change, but like I can't change anything. There's some things happening on the back end that are a little bit different than the usual. But back to the multiplayer side of things, I don't know if it's because of the changes that they made with the skill-based matchmaking or what, or it's probably also just that like the last game that I played that had some pace to it was Chronos New Dawn. And so going from Chronos to Call of Duty, I'm getting my shins kicked in so hard.
You are not the only person to say that. I've actually seen a lot of people said, and I haven't played yet, folks, and I don't know. So I for the last almost 6 days worth of play, I've been in like head deep, with the Outer Worlds 2, which I'm literally at the end for my second run, which of course is now going to be paused because I want to get into this. But I have heard that it is so fast that people are getting their teeth kicked in.
Yeah. Like you almost get that immediate reaction to be like, oh, that person's cheating. And then I realize that like I sound like my brother. I sound like my brother because my brother is kind of crotchety old man when it comes to playing Call of Duty. He's always complaining about like, oh, that person's cheating, or oh, what? How did I not kill him? It's like, and I felt like I was dropping into like his shoes in that moment. I was like, okay, maybe I just really suck right now and I just gotta like, clean off the rust or something. But again, like maybe it's because of the skill-based matchmaking stuff. Maybe it's because everyone I was playing with was surprised the diehards because, it's the first night that Call of Duty's out. So all of the tryhards are out. So maybe I was just running into all the sweats. I don't know. But it was pretty brutal the first couple times. Leveling up was definitely more of a challenge, I feel like, this time versus some of the other games. I feel like I would get into a groove. I'm not hitting a groove yet. I'm enjoying it, but I'm definitely getting my teeth kicked in pretty regularly through the matches so far. But as far as if I think this thing will take over, I've said it previously, and I know a lot of people don't like it. People who are Battlefield purists or enthusiasts. I think Battlefield did really good because Call of Duty wasn't out yet. Like there wasn't
Man, it's not being overly pointed. I think you're onto something. There's something to be said about that.
Yeah, it just, it's like if you're looking for a military shooter, if you're one of the people that didn't like the skins, then you probably flocked to Battlefield because there wasn't anything else that was there to offer you that experience at that time. But the difference is now there's a Call of Duty coming out, which is, as I think you've said before, is like the 800-pound gorilla that just shows up and decimates what it is. It's got the same effect as, like, obviously it's not the same effect as GTA, but it's got the same type of effect where when it comes out, the air gets pulled out of the room and it takes all of that air. So do I think it's going to do better? I mean, it's Call of Duty. Every year, even if it's been rated bad, Call of Duty wins. It's just kind of what it is. It would shock me more if it didn't perform as well versus Battlefield. But again, it's just, there's not that competition now. People have had enough time to jump into Battlefield. They've determined if it's for them or not. And now Call of Duty is out, and it's going to take the next 6 or 7 months probably of a lot of people's lives, like Call of Duty usually does.
Well, it's going to be very interesting to see, because obviously at the end of the year, I mean, listen, I don't know if either of these games get into any categories for Game of the Year at the Keighleys. Maybe there'll be a military shooters category, because now there's 2 of them. I still think that Black Ops is going to win. If any award for first-person shooters it's going to win, because it's Black Ops. And again, I'm not trying to throw any again, as kids like to say, no tea, no shade for a Battlefield. It's just not for me. And I still say, and I'll say it publicly, Activision are cowards. They should have never bent the knee for taking out these skins. I'm sorry. I just think that if I spent the money on the skins, I shouldn't care what some purist that wants military shooters, which is a video game, FYI, ladies and gentlemen, it's not real life. You're not running in the streets of Manhattan shooting down anybody. You're literally playing a video game. Who gives a flying shit what person is wearing?
And boom, I'll elevate it past that. I don't know who said it previously. I feel like I've heard a couple people mention this, but like, if you were so upset with the skins, if Call of Duty felt like they needed to make that change because they were getting the criticism, just put an option in the game that makes it so
there you go, sir.
Skins or multiplayer skins are disabled. So it's like I can run around as Butthead and you don't have to see it. If it bothers you so much, it bothers your delicate sensibilities as like a purist, then that's fine. You can play the game as a saltine shooter and I can enjoy my silliness. I don't know why people get so bent out of shape at it and act like it's the end of the world, because you look at Fortnite, and what is Fortnite? It's literally all skins.
Yes.
And it's one of the biggest games in the world.
Yeah.
So like if Fortnite's doing it and people are enjoying it, like, does that tell you something? There's a reason why Activision jumped on board in the first place.
Yeah.
There's money to be had.
Well, again, that's what it's all. These corporations, right? They got try to do their best to separate you the money from your wallet. That's just what they do. Shout out to Chief Nagel. He says, I say give options so you can turn it off, like literally what Sion Cypher just said. And shout out to SSMUFC. Now, if that's some sort of acronym, I effed it up. Sorry about that, brother. But he says, Boom, I'm sorry, Boom. I disagree. If I want silly skins, I'll play Fortnite. And it's a fair criticism, fine. But I just think that to rip them out altogether and take them away from, because I have skins that are not silly. They're militaristic skins that, have a bit of a, like a cyberpunk look to them, or a steampunk look. Like, you've seen me use the guy with the gold, he looks like the character from Hellboy. The guy that had to wind himself up. He's not a Nazi, for crying out loud. He's just a steampunk military guy. I really like that skin. That's like one of my favorite skins I've ever purchased. I can't use it now, and that kind of stinks. I mean, again, it's fine.
One thing I will tell you is, like, if you think that it's all going back to saltine military shooter roots, though, like for anyone in here that thinks that, it's not the case. Because one of the first operators that I got, I think from the Vault edition, is like it looks like a freaking robo taxi guy from like Total Recall or something.
Yes, I got him as well. I haven't used him, but yes.
Yeah, so like if people are thinking that it's going all the way back, like it's not reverting fully. So don't expect that, I suppose. But Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. It's like, I feel like a toggle would work just fine. Just toggle it off. If you don't like them, that's fine. Like they have the ability to implement something to make it so you don't see them. We'll see if they ever do that, but yeah.
You know, maybe there'll be enough criticism of people that actually paid for these effing skins. But like, no, fam. I want my skin. So we'll see what happens. But Fuzzy Belvedere, let's get your thoughts on this. Is Battlefield 6 in trouble? That's the question that people are asking, and whether or not we're going to see some big numbers for Black Ops 7. Let's get your thoughts on this, dude.
I don't think Black Ops 6 is in trouble in any way, shape, or form. It's a Call of Duty. It'll sell regardless. Like, even when people were talking about boycotting Call of Duty, it still sold 11 million copies in like a month. So it is what it is. It's the I hate to call it the casual game, but yeah, while there are some diehards that play it, it is for the casuals for the most part. Much like Fortnite, even though they're, other than being a shooter, they're not in really the same, space, let's say. But all in all, it's going to do well. Will Battlefield suffer from it? Maybe. From what I understand, Battlefield is having its own issues with its community. They're not happy with some of the maps. They're not happy with some of the choices as far as the modes and things like that. So it's already starting to waver a little bit as far as its popularity. But all things considered, Call of Duty is going to come in and do some decent numbers. Will it be the best selling Call of Duty? Probably not. Usually the Modern Warfares are usually the ones that take that title for the most part. Black Ops is not as consistent. But I think one of the Black Ops, Black Ops 2 is one of their biggest sellers. So it could do bigger numbers than anticipated, but I still think this is 10 million plus or more before the end of the year. It'll probably be the best selling game this year. And everybody will forget that they were comparing that with Battlefield in 2 or 3 months. But all in all, it's going to do well. Battlefield will do well as well. But I think the big thing, like you guys kind of mentioned it earlier, Crispy even touched on it with Arc Raiders. Even though that's not going to really take big numbers away from those other two juggernauts, it's something that those other two juggernauts are going to probably look at incorporating some aspects of that into their game. They've tried it in the past with extraction shooter modes and things. We'll see if they get a little bit better at it. And then I guess some people will say it's the original extraction shooter. I say it's the second because from my understanding, if you want to count beta versus full release, I still count Division as the real extraction shooter. But Escape from Tarkov is coming out to PC outside of just the Battle.net, server and webpage. It's now on Steam. So we'll see if the masses take it up. Considering it is a bit more punishing than Arc Raiders, I don't know how well it will do. But for all of those that are not about those weird skins and things like that, give your shot at Tarkov and see how it goes. I know some people have some pushback or issue with, some of the decisions of the publisher or the dev team themselves. But all of that stuff aside, that is another game that I'm curious to see how it plays out, at least in the PC space of things, for pulling numbers away from Battlefield or pulling numbers away from Call of Duty. I don't think it'll reach the likes of millions, but if 500,000 people more that are on Steam start playing that game, then we can definitely expect more Arc Raider type games to pop up. We can expect, with Arc Raiders doing as well as it is, more games or more publishers copying that as far as a mode. But don't expect Call of Duty to ever do bad until they start putting Smurf skins or something like that. But I'm on team toggle. Turn it off just for the fact that, give the player the option. I'm more for the mill sim aspect of things, but I'm pretty sure there's going to be some other skins out there that would be pretty cool. And if it's one of those things where, hey, I spent, $10-20 on that skin, I'm going to want it to be visible, at least to me. I could care less if other people can see it, but at least if I know if I have that skin, that I'd be happy. And I think a toggle kind of solves that for everyone for the most part. Just make it where it's if I turn the toggle off, the turn skins off, it's just a generic, skin, or maybe it's like they're almost in shadow mode or something like that. As far as like the overall skin is like kind of like cloaked or whatever. Who knows? But something along those lines, I think, would be a worthwhile venture for any of these mill sims. I mean, even for Fortnite, but I doubt Fortnite will ever do anything like that. But then again, I don't ever intend on playing Fortnite, so there's that as well. But yeah, Black Ops 6, I would say probably 10 million before the end of the year. We'll see.
I mean, I don't doubt it. And apologies if you hear any buzzing in the background. They're doing lawn work, of course, like right when the show starts. They had all morning, but hopefully you don't hear what I'm hearing because it is very annoying. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be the first topic of the show. We got to get into this next topic. Now, this one is going to probably, it's going to do two things. One, it's going to get Xbox players excited because something is happening and it's positive. And if they are PlayStation players, not regular gamers, but I'm talking about the POSs of the of social media that just make reading some of their tweets like nails on a chalkboard because they're so illiterate, it's embarrassing. ASUS has made a pretty stout statement. I have a story here from VGCharts.com written by William DeAngelos, posted yesterday. And William goes on to say in this article, ASUS or ASUS, in its Q3 fiscal year call with investors, stated that the ROG Xbox Ally X is, quote, in high demand since it launched on October 16th. And more importantly, or not for anyone that doesn't have it, it's in short supply. And they are currently having difficult times meeting the demand of this handheld. Now, here's a couple of quotes from that meeting. It goes on to say, we believe that we have achieved our goals in terms of premium positioning and creating a new growth driver in the gaming segment, said ASUS executive in earnings call via Seeking Alpha. And that's why we launched the third generation of the ROG Ally last month. It featured a deeper collaboration with Xbox. Chris Baum, let's get your thoughts on this because this is a really big deal. This is a $1,000 console in 2025 where we know spendable money is just not the same. I want to get your thoughts on this because, again, I saw some of the detractors of Xbox products saying that, oh, well, when you only make 2,000 of them, of course they're going to sell out. I just, again, when I read those kind of things, A, they get blocked, and B, I'm embarrassed for them as a human man because no one is going to make 2,000 of a unit when they want to sell millions of it. It's just preposterous. Let's get your thoughts on this, brother.
Yeah, everybody, it's not going to sell well. It's too expensive. I mean, the one thing I'll say is this is probably not good for the prices down the road. Clearly, they probably more than likely, figured 1 million units or something like that. I mean, that seems pretty conservative for at least a $1,000, handheld console / PC, whatever you want to call it at this point. People always saying, hey, this is not this or that. Clearly people want it. That's the point. And, if you look at their collaboration at this point, you wonder if even, Microsoft was not expecting this. That said, we see people still going after console sales. Well, the Series X and S are included, but not the ROG because, it's made by ASUS, and I guess they are not going to even acknowledge it at this point, but I'm sure that Steam machine they will. So, looking at it from a high up situation, I say this is showing the proof of concept. This is going to allow them to say, okay, people are interested in the ability to do this. We must double down. We already have somebody coming out with a similar platform that we want to do. And I expect and believe, and obviously this is just my opinion, that a good time would be the Game Awards to announce the next console. And with the ROG Ally X being so sought after, it's going to be interesting to see what they reveal, because the rumors are true. It's going to be another powerful machine that we could put under our TV. So I'm intrigued. And, you know, obviously I'm the type of person you're going to spend that type of money. No offense to anybody that has it, but I'm going to let you guys work out the kinks. And when I'm ready, if I want it, I'm going to buy it. But that's really my opinion on it. And it's just good to see that, you know, they came out with something new, and it really has attracted, you know, people to say, hey, you know what, I'm going to try this out. And I think, yeah, it's going to bode well for the future of gaming in general.
Well, you know, you mentioned pricing. Look, these consoles, whether they be the handheld version or the next generation boxes, and I'm not, you know, Nintendo, they're in their next generation, right? They're doing what they're doing, and it came in higher at a higher price than some people wanted, and it might actually still raise. Nintendo's already said that. But PlayStation 6, from what we understand, is years away. They are in the design phase. And we know, thanks to Lin Tao, who is the CFO of Sony Corp, he said that the PlayStation 5 is currently in the middle of their lifespan, which means they expect it to sell, or at least be selling the PlayStation 5 for 10 years. Is that possible? Sure. Now, I know there's been some pushback on my thoughts where they're saying, well, that doesn't mean they're not going to do a PlayStation 6. That's true. But a PlayStation 6 is not releasing next year, and it's not coming in 2027 because they just started with it. So the earliest I can see a PS6 actually happening is probably 28, which is what the original rumor was. Now, Sony has already said they're going to come in cheaper than their proposed, premium and curated device that Sarah Bond was talking about. So we already have an idea that the Power Crown is not going to be on PlayStation, but that doesn't mean the PS6 is going to be not capable. It's going to be a very powerful machine. There's just no doubt about it. The question is when. Well, looking at what's going on right now with the Xbox Ally X, it is selling out. And it's selling out because there is a high demand for this. And I think what it ultimately does, Silent Cypher, is really open the eyes, or knock down the door, so to speak, for Xbox actually making their own in 27. Because remember, there was some stuff that they put that on pause, but I think the sales of this thing indicate that the console gamers, i.e. me and a lot of people in this chat, will spend the money, even if it is $1,000, for potentially an Xbox handheld. And folks, listen, no one, unless Microsoft comes out tomorrow and says we are doing a one box and that's it, type of SKU situation for next gen, am I going to believe it? I think there's going to be $1,000 console. It could be 8, it could be 9, it could be 1,000, whatever it's going to be. I'm getting it day one. But I do think there is going to be an entryway into next gen gaming that is going to give you all of the advantages that you're seeing right now with the ROG, allowing you to have all of these places like GOG and Epic Games and Steam to get other games outside of Xbox and still play your library, because we know that at one point every game that you own is going to be playable on this thing. Let's get your thoughts on what you think is going to happen with the success, and do you believe it's actually selling out, Silent Cypher?
So, as you guys talked about, and they've been very vague, obviously, at this point in time, but like we haven't seen actual numbers at this time to extrapolate what we're looking at as like an overall total for this. But it is funny because I've seen some of those people commenting the same thing. It's like, oh yeah, well, if you only make like 2,000 units of this item, of course you're going to sell out. Like, that's just how it works. Well, we know that in Spain, they had about 1,000 units that were sold during the launch week in Spain. And we know that this thing has released in 45 different countries. So right off the bat, I don't think they made 2,000. That's kind of a silly type of approach to it. Obviously, they have a lot of these things out in the market across the globe. What the numbers look like completely, who knows? But that being said, like that was, and I think that was just for the Xbox ROG Ally X, was 1,000, right around 1,000 in Spain.
Yes.
So we have an idea that this thing is pretty widespread, and obviously it'll release to more markets and territories as it goes forward. That was just the initial launch back in October 16th. So we haven't seen a bunch of the details yet, but we can tell that they've obviously got a pretty good stock of these things that have actually gone out across the globe. I think from what we've seen so far and from the feedback that Microsoft has probably received from this so far, it's a really good first step in the direction towards their new hybrid console.
Yeah.
It's like, are there still things that need to be patched up and squared away? Yes. But in general, like when you turn that system on, it boots you right up into your Xbox UI wrapper. You choose what game you want to play. You play the game. It's pretty basic. I don't think I talked about it on here last because I think I had just gotten it, so I was just barely getting my hands on it. But with the Xbox Ally, now granted, like you could probably go as deep into the upgrading or updating and stuff as you want to. But for someone who just wanted to test it and see what would happen if I didn't bother doing some of the upgrades and stuff, I haven't been going in and doing like updates on Windows or some of the other stuff throughout the system. I just wanted to see how long it would work before it broke or before it told me like, hey, I can't play your games. I've updated here and there, like when the Xbox store said that it has an update on my ROG Ally. But past that, I haven't really done much outside of the UI wrapper just because I was curious how it would work. And if I would get to a point like on the previous ROG where like if I didn't have updates, it wouldn't let me play the game. Like at a certain point, it would be like, no, we can't load this because you haven't updated your system. I've not run into that. And I've not run into any negative effects on playing the games that I have on the system because of not upgrading it so far. So it seems like there's less urgency to some of that stuff than some people out there in the industry are making it sound like too. Because I know that was one of the biggest things that people came out with initially was like, oh, if you boot this thing up, you got to go download this, you got to download this, you got to get this update, you got to get this Windows update, blah, blah, blah. Like, yeah, you could get those things. But I'm telling you from someone who's updated like once, and that was, I think, the first couple days in. Yeah. I updated like once when it first came out. I've not updated since, and the system's working just fine.
Yep.
I've not seen any impact on my games because I didn't do the updates. It's very much what I was expecting it to be, which is like I power it up, I go to my library, I play the games. That's very much what it is. It's doing what I expected it to do. And from what we can tell, even just in like these little groups and the chat, like the podcast families that we see, like whenever I'm in like Dirt or Sean's show, or I'm in some of these other shows as well, or I'm in here, there's a lot of people that are jumping into chat. They're like, yeah, I got mine. I'm loving it. I'm playing it. Like, there's a lot of people who've adopted this thing. Yep. And this is a good sign for them. I will agree with Crispy that the price, unfortunately, is kind of signaling towards what we're going to see in the future.
Yeah, I agree. He's right.
But that being said, we're also getting more capable hardware for that price. I think the thing is they're trying to get rid of those days where when these systems come out, they're immediately obsolete. That's
point.
That's how a lot of these things had been previously. Is like 360 was a good system, but as far as the actual hardware and like the specs, it was. I mean, you could already get stuff more powerful in the PC market right then. Whereas a lot of this stuff that they're bringing out now, because they're not trying to go for like the lowest possible cost on it, you can play these things because they do have higher specs. Like, yes, you're having to pay more, but you are getting more competent hardware. So it's an interesting market. It does make me nervous as to what kind of prices we're going to see on some of the new gen hardware. But it does get me kind of excited about the fact that we know that there are going to be partnered third-party ones as well. Possibly an ASUS system, or systems from other people, because if we have multiple systems out there that are targeting certain performance levels or whatever for the system and what the specs can do, we're probably going to see competition on the pricing in market as well. So like if you have ASUS and you have someone else that's got a system that are similar as far as the specs on the Xbox side of things, maybe you'll see them competing more on pricing. So maybe you'll see better deals occasionally. Could be a good thing. We'll see how that rolls out. We'll see if that's how that feels pretty optimistic. We'll see if that actually happens. But I think this is a good step in the right direction. I think this is a good first start into getting some sort of hybrid system. I don't know about you. I actually haven't docked my system yet at all. I've got the dock. I haven't docked it yet and tried it on TV, but everything else that I've done on it's been pretty good. I've enjoyed it. Everything I've thrown at it so far plays really well. Despite some of the silly pictures I saw online, Spider-Man plays great on it, and it plays at like pretty much all the settings at the highest. So you can play your Sony games on your Xbox. As much as it angers them, you can do it. So,
well, I see a future where that's going to happen more often than not. Again, that's a whole other conversation. King David and I had a great conversation about potentially the future for Sony, and their future for money purposes is no longer just doing console launches. And a perfect example of that is now Ghost of Yotai is a profitable game. We just learned that they sold 3.3 million copies, and that's phenomenal for the game. And I'm happy for Sucker Punch. I really am. That's a studio you want to see, continue and succeed. And again, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to wait for a sale during Black Friday. I'm going to pick it up. I'm going to pick up the deluxe edition, play through it, and enjoy it. But I think that Sony themselves would have much rather had 6.6 million copies sold, and they would have had that possibly if they launched on PC, right? Mm-hmm. If they did a day and date situation, this is something that would have made them more money. Because and a perfect example of how that worked in their favor is Helldivers 2, right? But with these new handhelds and the future Xbox consoles, I've said this before, and this is probably going to piss a lot of people off that are just non-Xbox players. I'm not buying a PlayStation 6 because I'm not going to have to. If they get to a day or they get to a time in their development cycle where PlayStation 5 games or PlayStation 6 games are launching on the console and on PC, as I expect them to do, then I'll just play on my Xbox and I'll buy their games from wherever. And I won't need a PlayStation 6.
Boom. How many PS5s did they announce that they've sold so far?
It was closer to like 84. Well, they used the word shipped, so I don't want to really get into the how many shipped versus. It's almost 84 million is what they've total. If they've moved in one way or another.
So let's say that they sold 80 million. Let's say they sold through 80 million of that. That still ends up only being like a 4% install base that purchased that game. Like 3.3, don't get me wrong, like it's not bad for a game. They did good. They had a good reasonable budget for this game, so they're already making money back. But I do kind of think it's funny that there are people out there parading how amazing this 3.3 is when you have like 80 million consoles out there. That should tell you something about what the install base is, and that should tell you what Microsoft has seen and what all these companies know right now is like the PlayStation ecosystem, the PlayStation diehards that are buying these games are about 4%. They're not enough, right? So like I'm sure they prefer the idea that they could have this game on PC, Xbox, etc. Why? Because corpos like money, right? Like, I don't think in any world Sony's like, yes, we sold 3.3 million on this system. That's the best thing in the world, blah, blah, blah. We could never do any better. I'm sure they're like, gee, but you know, how much money are we leaving on the table because we're keeping it in a walled garden? And I think that's why we're going to continue to see, as time goes on, they're going to release these things out to other ecosystems, because like no way does Sony just want to scrape by or like make some profit on a game. They want to make all the profit, just like every company. Like Call of Duty, Microsoft doesn't want to make their budget back on Call of Duty. They want to make 10 times the budget back. So like, I appreciate that it did 3.3, but at the same time, like they could have done better. And they should have done better considering how many systems are out there. Like, I'm actually kind of shocked that the install base didn't buy the game more.
I mean, again, look, I know that the game itself cost $60 million to make, and that is a far cry from what they spent on, let's say, Spider-Man 2. So the game is technically profitable, and I'm sure Sony is happy about that. But of course, any corporation is going to want to sell more. But you know what? Circling the wagons, and let's bring this right back to Fuzzy Belvedere. The Xbox Ally X is not only a comparable handheld, in my opinion, it's one of the best for a lot of reasons. I had a Steam Deck. I sold it privately. I have the ROG Ally first launch console. Good. Always cramped my hands a little bit because of the way it's set up. This new handheld, which of course is an Xbox handheld, is perfect. It fits great in the hands. I use it, and normally, like the way I use my Switch is docked, right? I don't dock it to the TV because Mrs. Boom plays hers, which she just got a Switch 2 for her birthday. So now we're a Switch 2 a family of Switch 2s, I should say. But I have a dock that allows me to see the screen. I use a Pro controller, and that's how I go. Now I've done that same method using the dock because I bought the official dock from ROG, and it works great. Plugs in, keeps it charged. I use it, but I also find myself wanting to play up close and personal. And what I'm starting to look for is games that are now play anywhere. I bought 3 last night that are smaller titles that you look for that and like, yes, that says play anywhere. This is awesome. I think what they've done is really set themselves up great for whatever happens in 27. Because there's not going to, I don't think we're getting a handheld by Xbox next year. I think for 27 is when you get the big boy console, you're going to get, and again, this is just my opinion, folks. Until I'm proven wrong, I think there's going to be a dockable handheld that's going to be an affordable entry into gaming on Xbox that allows you to play every game everywhere from any store. That's the draw. That's why people are going to still buy Xbox consoles and potentially handhelds. But I want to talk about this this statement over here because, again, it's very interesting to know that this handheld is actually is selling out. And again, just to read another excerpt from the story from VGCharts.com, it goes on to say this, Fuzzy. And so since its launch, we've seen the market response for it's been extremely positive for us. And particularly, there has been an appetite for the premium higher end models exceeding our own expectations. The article goes on to say, in fact, these high-end variants are currently in short supply, and we are working closely with key component suppliers to ramp up production and fill the demand gap that currently exists. Now, granted, you're going to get some people to say, well, just a second, Boom, that's ASUS saying that. Yes, but this was taken from a conference call for their third quarter. You got to understand, folks, I know that people lie ridiculously on social media. You can't do that if you're sitting in the boardroom. The numbers must match up, and the sales expectations and quotes need to align. There's no lying to investors. So for them to say this, that means it's actually happening. First, let's get your thoughts on this, brother.
Well, a lot of things when it comes to these handhelds. I want to put people's expectations in reality. No one is looking for handhelds to do 20 million, 40 million, 50 million. I mean, they would love for it to reach that, but realistically, ASUS and Xbox probably looked at on the low end, probably somewhere around 500,000 units. On the top end, probably closer to 2 million units. Now, what it sounds like is occurring is that they were probably expecting to sell either, for every, one Xbox Ally X, they were probably expecting to sell 2 Xbox Allies. And it sounds like it's more of a 1-to-1. So they're out of sorts, I guess, on the proportion of the Xbox Ally X's that they have allocated. So they'll probably need to make more of those, probably because of the demand is higher on that particular SKU in comparison. That's not to say that they're disappointed with the Xbox Ally. It's just that whoever sat there and did the numbers and crunched things and figured, well, based on metrics, we should probably make more of the Xbox Ally. And now they're finding out the Xbox Ally is more popular. And I kind of parallel this to the auto market when I used to be involved in, like, with muscle cars, for example. Everybody loves the sound of V8 and love V8s, but the market normally caters to the 6-cylinder. Now that changes when there's either a new design or a new reintroduction of the vehicle. So back in, what was that, 04, when the 05 Mustang did the redesign, a lot of people thought, oh, the 6-cylinder will sell so much better. No, all retail orders, or about 90% of them, were for V8s. Now, eventually the 6-cylinder started catching up because as you see more of them on the road, less people care about the V8, 2 and 3 years down into the manufacturing cycle. But at launch, everybody that's an enthusiast is going to get the big boy one. Same thing with the Camaro. Same thing happened with the Challenger when it came back. The V8s were selling way better, at least those first 2 years, than they were the 6-cylinder or even the 4-cylinder variants that came for the Mustang later. But I say all that to say is that right now, well, kind of like what you guys had hinted to earlier, it is probably not boding well for us seeing a reasonable or an affordable price point for the next generation. And I always try and say, don't say the $1,000 or $1,200 out loud. Say more like 600 or 800, even though I know, they're not probably going to do the, as much of the subsidized, backing behind their products and things. But I would like for that new price point to be 800 or less, as opposed to jumping straight to the 1,000 or 1,200, because much like the PlayStation guys, when they were like, oh, I'll happily pay $80 or $100 for their first party exclusives. And we saw how Sony was like, yeah, let's pump it to 80. And then even Nintendo was like, yeah, we could do it too. And, so goes, even Xbox tried it with Outer Worlds 2 originally. But I want people to understand the enthusiasts are the ones that's kind of shaping this market right now. That's to say, as this becomes more widespread, those that are kind of on the fence, that are like, well, is the Xbox Ally worth it? And I've said this long ago. It is worth it if you're on the fence of wanting to be able to play PC games and are looking for something that can connect to your console that more than likely, as time goes on, will allow you to play console games. It's just that that's not a reality today, unless you're doing the streaming or the remote play or something along those lines. So if you're a console first person and that's all then this is going to be more of like a very expensive portal, but it does have the option to do the direct installs for the Play Anywhere titles for the PC variant. It has the option to stream anything that's through Game Pass with the cloud streaming, since they put cloud on even the other tiers. It's just that you may not get the day ones if you're on the lower tier. But I would say probably Xbox and ASUS is looking at, if they can reach 2 million in sales, which they're probably halfway there by now, probably 6 months to a year ahead of where they thought they would be to reach that, then we're going to see a lot more handhelds, whether it's from other partners or even the Xbox One for the next generation, which I do believe, if it's unable to launch at the same time as the under your TV one, it'll probably be the year after. But I'm hoping they kind of do like what Steam did and at least announce all of them at once, which, by the way, Steam making that announcement for things like the Steam Machine and the frame and the controller and stuff, and still only, having the Steam Deck 1 out there right now. The Steam Deck 2 is probably about a year or two away. That goes to show that this blurring of the lines between console and PC are that market's growing, and somebody like Steam can see that. At some point, PlayStation is going to see that, although they better see it sooner rather than later, because they don't want to have to be like, not saying that Nintendo's in a bad spot, because they're obviously not. They're selling well and they're doing well with their hardware and software, but you don't want to have to, be forced into a niche that then that's all you can do, especially with them having aspirations to reach beyond their player base, which, Silent Cypher broke it down real nicely as far as how there's over 80 million consoles out there, but they're only selling, 4% of them, or 4% of their first party titles to that player base. A lot of these are second PlayStation 5s in the household. A lot of them are TV streaming boxes. Like, the main reason why my wife only still has a PS4, because it doesn't make sense to upgrade it if she's barely going to play games on it, but stream Netflix and Prime TV. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of households that went out and bought the PS5, and that's what that PS5 is doing. It's streaming, TV right now, more so than it's streaming games. But, these consoles, these handheld consoles, and I refer to them as consoles because they're feeling more like the console as far as the environment and the UI that you're using, even though, yes, it's playing PC games. But like I said, those lines are blurring, and probably by next generation, it'll just be that these games will be referred to as apps on the platform, as opposed to a PC version or a console version, for the fact that that's where they're looking to head to, where it's one continuous format, no matter what platform you're on, kind of deal. You don't have to wait for the PC port or the console port or something. But yeah, Xbox is probably looking at this like, yeah, we probably could have released our own Xbox handheld, but then we would probably get criticized a lot more for not having the UI up to where they want it for next generation launch. They would probably be criticized on the fact that it's only playing the PC games, which people already did that with the ASUS, but it was kind of an understood that this being a PC handheld that, is geared towards the Play Anywhere titles. But yeah, please understand that that's on their to-do list, and probably sooner rather than later when it comes to an Xbox handheld. And the success of this market just means that we'll see more advancements. Like I said, with Steam coming into it and doing like their own version of Quick Resume, I think they couldn't call it Quick Resume. They call it like fast resume or some sort of resume kind of thing. There's going to be more players in this field, and that just means better for us as gamers and consumers. So just be prepared for the higher prices next gen. I'm already saving up money. I'm debating on picking up any of those Steam devices or even the Xbox Ally X, just for the fact that if I spend $1,000 now, will I be looking at myself funny for the fact that the next device is $1,000, a year later kind of thing. So start saving now. This is becoming a more expensive hobby, unfortunately. There will be, options for those that aren't looking to throw $800 to $1,000 into a new device. We'll more than likely still be able to use our current devices in the streaming format, which may not be ideal, but it at least get us at least halfway through the next generation or into the middle of that generation, where hopefully prices, mimic times of past where the prices start to drop. But we'll see. Not holding my breath on price drops, but yeah, good to see that this thing is selling, and despite people hating it, it still sells, much like Call of Duty. So yeah, I've rambled enough. I'm sorry.
All right, there we go. Now my mic was muted for some reason. That's probably on me. Look, I'll say this in regards to everyone's point of view. I think everyone killed it. I think this was a great topic to lead us into the next one, because it's kind of a bit of a segue into we're talking next generation consoles, but not the one you think, ladies and gentlemen. Let me just catch up on the one super chat we got over here, and we have a super chat here from Mac22. Dropping a very generous $5 super chat. Matt goes on to say, boom, can't believe these guys don't understand. It's a felony to lie to investors. Foreheads shaking my head. Yeah, it is. It's an actual crime. That's why when you see people acting a fool, I say don't engage, folks. Don't entertain. Simply just block. let them take a picture of you blocking them so they can put it up in socials and get, 10 clicks, 10 likes. Oh, look at the guy blocked me. Good for you. I'm 55, ladies and gentlemen. I try to run a positive channel. Yes, we can get pointed when it comes to PlayStation or Xbox. We don't really go negative against Nintendo outside of them, the price increase of the games, which is ridiculous. But for the most part, I know you would, of course. That's fine. That's fine. But we don't engage with these folks. Again, don't feed the trolls. Just keep it moving. But look, Mac, appreciate you being here, brother. And thank you so much for the generosity, as always. Gentlemen, we are at the 112 mark. So we're going to probably go another 20 minutes, give or take, get out of here, on time, because I got a bunch of stuff to do. But we do have to cover this next story. So Crispy Bomb, let me drop it like it's hot, so to speak. The Game Awards, the biggest show of any year that it's in. As big as the Xbox Showcase will be, or has been in the past, Tokyo Game Show or Gamescom, there is no doubt that the biggest show or the most watched show of every and any year that it's in is Jeff Keighley's The Game Awards. Some people really like the awards. I like to see studios get their flowers. I think this is going to be a very interesting year, simply because I do think Sandfall Interactive and and Expedition 33 are going to run the gambit. I think that game is going to win every award category that it's in, and it's worthy of it. The story behind that game is just so amazing, and so when you just, like I said, if you ever need a feel good type of story for gaming and game design, look no further than Expedition 33, because everything about that game should not work, right? How they found the music and the voice actors and everything on how they designed, how many people brought that game to fruition. By all rights, it shouldn't work, but somehow it did. And it's a lot of people's game of the year. It brought a new way of playing turn-based RPGs to the forefront of gaming. It certainly put the spotlight on AAA development and cost. When you look at how much they spent, how many people designed this, who was involved, how they found the people, this game shouldn't work. And it did. And it sold really well, even though it was an Xbox Game Pass. And that's another thing. This thing got a significant amount of boost being an Xbox Game Pass. I mean, I could have played it through there, but I bought the game. I bought the deluxe edition because I wanted to support the developer. I didn't get it as a review copy. That's fine. I was more than happy to spend the money. But circling the wagons here, Crispy, being that Jeff's show is the biggest and most viewed show of any year that it's in, this is an opportunity for Xbox to really bookend what I believe to be one of the best years they have ever had. When you consider how the year opened up with the Developer Direct, where, obviously Black Ops 7 just released today, it's that really incredible middle part that should tell the tale of how Xbox as a platform, not just as and a publisher platform, by the way, has done, because they have made not only a lot of money, which again, I could give a flying shit about. I don't care about the money, but as a player, as a gamer who has invested into the ecosystem and who is someone proudly paid up until October 5th of 2028 for Xbox Game Pass, I got my money's worth in spades. Now, with that said, right, we just finished talking about the Xbox Ally X doing big numbers, selling out in multiple countries, people still on hold to get theirs. Well, this is an opportunity, Crispy, and I think you're with me on this one. If you want to really grab the world and take Play Anywhere to the next level, which I think that they are slowly doing. I know there's been a lot of pushback with the Xbox 360 X esque type of commercials, I got to be honest with you. I haven't seen a commercial that I thought was terrible. Yeah, sure, they're cheesy, but that is what the Xbox 360 marketing was, and it worked really well for them. And I got to be honest with you. I know people are like, well, boom, it's stupid. I'm embarrassed to watch it. Well, A, don't watch it if that's the case. But B, what are we doing? We're talking about their advertising. And if there's anything that we can say about Xbox, their marketing and messaging has been terrible. But this has the people talking. So with all of the games they've released this year, with the 2 handhelds that are partnered OEM devices and the commercials and the success of some of their games that have been here, there, and everywhere, even older games like Forza Horizon 5 on PlayStation, one of their top-selling games on PS5 this year. Pretty incredible stuff. If you really want to close out the year, and I mean, just go for it, this is the show to do it. And they did it in 2019 with the Series X reveal, which no one saw coming. And of course, they showed off Hellblade 2. But the hardware took everybody by storm. People were in the audience. I was there streaming it live. People didn't know what the heck was happening. Well, again, I don't know if they're going to get the same reaction, but if they announce that next year, where they're celebrating the 25th anniversary of the platform, and they somehow, whoever they're working with, which I believe it to be ASUS, just like the handhelds, if they can get a Magnus preview box out there that gives you the bells and whistles of next generation, there are a couple of things that are going to be happening, and they're going to be big stories. The biggest story, and I know I'm going to get pushback for this, and I already did. But if this box does come out and they do show it at the Game Awards, you know what the conversation is going to be? Not that it's going to play Halo great, or Gears of War E-Day, or even Forza Horizon 6. No, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to be the best place to play Grand Theft Auto 6 next year. That in itself is worth its weight in gold. I want to get your thoughts on whether or not you believe that this next, OEM the box or partnered hardware shows up at the Game Awards.
Could be either or. I mean, we've seen a lot of conflicting things happening at this point. Could one be before the other? Because clearly they're already embracing, everybody ignores the fact that they branded with Meta as well. So, they're doing different things. They're basically some people are going to hate this, but they're treating it like the platform of Windows is going to be kind of become a coexistence with the Xbox UI. And I think over time, it's going to take time. I think it's going to be one of the most important things that ever happened to gaming. And realizing that, at least from what I've seen, obviously being an Xbox user, maybe the algorithm hits me more, but I'm seeing a lot more advertising. And, that makes me believe that over time, they're going to look at the Game Awards this year, especially, and probably next year much differently. And because, it hasn't been much, at least last year wasn't, much of anything. So I look at that and say, you bring out, a tease or whatever you want to say for that console. In my opinion, you got to have the games to back it up. And, you're not going to show a lot. You've already shown a bunch of games, but we haven't seen any gameplay from Gears E-Day. And also, if you want that pop from the crowd, in my opinion, because people are just salivating for it, Fallout 3 remaster, have Todd come out, show some side by side, some stuff like that, the TV show, all that happening with one of the largest, viewed things that they could have this on. I mean, it would be logical, to show what they're thinking, maybe a little bit more than them just talking. Like, remember the 1X and all that, give a little more, maybe some glimpses or whatnot of what the future holds. And, it could intrigue people that are just, you know, hey, let's celebrate the games, let's see what's new. Might be like, this looks interesting from Xbox. And I'm not talking about the stands. I'm talking about the people that, you know, might still have a One or a PS4 because, you know, as you know, even Fuzzy, you know, talking about that, you know, like people do still have these things. There's still a PS4 in my house. I mean, I can't even get rid of the thing now. So if you look at it, it really would be a logical time. And I feel like they want to get some hype, especially going in to the anniversaries. And there's a lot of anniversaries next year. So why not bookend the year with some, you know, like, hey, we're here, and you could play on your TV or phone wherever, but we're bringing it, and it makes sense.
Well, you know, it's funny. You made an interesting point. Before I hand the microphone over to Silent Cypher, I want to kind of, you know, just kind of point this out. So I did a search. Now, we just saw the new, well, I saw it. I've watched it twice already. I'm very excited. Fallout Season 2. That trailer that just dropped for Amazon Prime looks good. I mean, you know, there's somebody in power armor fighting a Deathclaw. Yes, please. I'm all in. But interestingly enough, we start talking about dates. Well, December 17th, 2025 is the first episode, or at least I think it's going to be the first 2 episodes, right? The Game Awards just so happens to be on December 11th. So Todd Howard walking out to announce to the world that, hey, you know, go check out this, you know, season 2 of Fallout. But oh, by the way, right now, go to your console, download Fallout, Fallout 3 Remake. I actually think what you just did is put that into the ether. I think that's actually happening. That was brilliant. I don't know whether you know that you knew that's what you were doing, but that was a brilliant take because, again, it makes sense. At the Game Awards, listen, Fallout 3 Remake is probably releasing on here, there, and everywhere, right? It's going to, I even think a Switch 2 version is possible. So if you're going to have millions upon millions of gamers getting excited for season 2, which season 1 did numbers that you said that were unbeatable by anybody or anything, then you drop the because again, VGC just did a story this week on it where they have confirmed that it is real. We all know it's real. We just need it to be dropped. That would be pretty freaking epic at the Game Awards. On top of, and again, this is what I'm saying. If you want to say go for it, this is how you do that. You know, obviously Bethesda has operated as their own thing. You know, when you say Bethesda, no one really equates it with Xbox, right? It's just Bethesda, which is fine. And this is where you can have room for a console reveal. And I think that if you're going to go for it, Silent Cypher, this is the biggest stage that you could use. And again, we are just spitballing here. This is a lot of speculation, a lot of fanboy dreaming. But I think that if Xbox wants to really drive the point home, they've already started doing that. These handhelds may not be for you for one reason or another. Maybe that you are someone like Kay Asante who has the MSI Claw and likes the bigger screen and the more power. And I'm not going to fight you on it. But if you're somebody that doesn't like it because you don't believe it's an Xbox, then we can't even have a conversation because by all counts or all accounts, it's an Xbox because it was made in partnership with ASUS and Microsoft. I'm sorry. If that does not work for you, then maybe this show doesn't work for you either. I don't know what to tell you. But I am going to say that if you really want to get people, if you want to close out the year in a big way, get people excited for what is expected to be a party from the 1st of January to December 31st of next year. It's going to be all about Xbox. They're doing a lot of big things, a lot of big anniversaries, a lot of big releases. Having a console to potentially release with Halo Campaign Evolved that pushes its specs to the limit and gives you a glimpse into Magnus would be one hell of a story. And to get that story started, I say go for it, Xbox, and show this thing off at the Game Awards. What are your thoughts on this, Silent Cypher? Should this be the go-to move?
I think given their their past with the video game awards, it would make a lot of sense for them to show their next leanings into hardware. You know, we saw it with like the Xbox One X. We've seen it in the past. Like we saw the Scorpio when that ended up having the release, and I think we saw the Series X.
Yeah, in 2019. Yep.
Yeah, so like they've had a history with it there previously, as far as announcing things, which is always fun to me because like we all know that Keeley doesn't like Xbox that way. So it's kind of great when Microsoft comes in and just bankrolls it and is like, well, okay, we get that you're not going to give us that same love, but we're just going to fill your show with a bunch of Xbox stuff. And it's like, I know at the end of the day, it's more about the money and the success of the thing for him than is like necessarily just the fanboyism. But I love the fact that they go in and just load it up sometimes. Like there for a while, I was kind of the mindset that it's like, don't give him anything. Like, because the way that he treated it sometimes, like you could do it elsewhere, right?
Yeah.
But it's like you said, there's a lot of eyes on this thing. Whether you like him or not, he has a big show. It's gained popularity. It's a thing people watch every year. So whether I like it or not, like we're still going to watch it, see what happens, because inevitably we're going to see something interesting there. Some years have been better than others. Some have been some real duds. Some have had some real good cringe moments, like the wrap it up timer. That was pretty amazing.
Or the giant shaver, the shaver superhero man. That was bad. Yeah.
Or the God of War voice actor ranting on for 7 or 8 minutes when, you know, maybe he just didn't get his nap that day and he was just grouchy. Who knows? But whatever the case is, yeah, I think this would be a good time for them to present something. Whether it happens or not, I like the idea of them dropping hardware going into GTA 6's release, because it gives me a sinister amusement. The idea that Sony fans would end up having competition coming out that then could play the game even better at the exact same time. And then they have to try and move the goalpost again and explain to me how a $750 PS5 Pro is actually good. So it would be an interesting time. I would love to see them drop hardware and just be like, this is a glimpse into what we're doing. It's just like what we saw with the Xbox ROG Ally in October. Same type of thing, right? Like this is a glimpse into what the future of these systems is going to be. Yes. And as we see these iterations come out, as we move forward, we're going to see some of the implemented changes. We're going to see some of those adjustments and tweaks and stuff as we go forward. And we're going to see how this is going to unfold like in the future on these systems. Like we're going to get small glimpses in to show us what this is going to be next gen. It's going to be interesting to see the change that they're doing with this, but I'm still, I get nervous that like, I know in the past we had heard rumors and reports that we were going to possibly see some form of hardware in 2026, be it like a partnership or something like that. And that's what I'm hopeful for. Because again, like if you release that, there's never a better time than to do it right near GTA. So you can showcase and be like, hey, guess what? We've got the best place to play this. That would be awesome. You mentioned Fallout 3 getting announced finally, the remaster, remake, or whatever. And I'm really hopeful because after that Fallout day,
disappointment. Yes.
Disappointment.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude, let me tell you, like there was so much opportunity that they had in that show to make it an amazing thing. And instead, like it went off like a fart in a tight elevator, right? Like it went off like a fart in an elevator. Everyone was sitting there just like, what the hell was that? Like,
what did you eat, fella?
Yeah, like we know that these guys are working on things, and this is what you brought us. Okay, all right, sure. We've known for a long time that Fallout 3 remake or remaster or whatever has been in the works, and like I figured that would have been the time to show it. But you guys do have a great point of the fact that like the new Fallout season's coming up. Video Game Awards is right before that. So maybe that's a great time to do it. Be like, hey, by the way, we know that you're enjoying Fallout as a TV series, and we have Fallout 3 for you to jump back in,
Yes.
remastered, re-envisioned, whatever. It seems like the timing makes a lot of sense. I hope that it's what it is, because again, that Fallout day was a big disappointment. When they give you literally just Fallout New Vegas Anniversary Edition and there's really no modifications or changes or tweaks or anything to make it good, it's just a cash grab. That was a disappointing day.
Yeah.
So hopefully you guys are right. I would be very happy if you guys were right, because I just dove back into Fallout 4 after the Anniversary Edition released. I realized I just hadn't played a lot of that game when it came out. And so I'm diving back in, and it's got me wanting to go back to Fallout 3 now.
Yeah.
So that would be great. But yeah, back to the hardware thing. Yeah, I think we see something. I hope we see something. Let's put it that way. I hope we see something, especially given what next year is going to be with all the pillars releasing. It would be a real good true to form for them, and it would be a really good way for them to give the competition the middle finger.
You know, again, this is probably me fanboying or fanboy dream, whatever. Listen, I'm an Xbox, folks. I am who you thought I was, right? I like Xbox is my favorite brand. Fuzzy, both Crispy and Silent have knocked it out of the park. But I want to get your take on this because, you know, I'm all about opportunity. I think that when you have an opportunity and it's squandered like Bethesda had with Fallout Day, it leaves a sour taste in your fan base's mouth. And it's not one. I mean, again, they could have announced something about New Vegas getting a remake. They could have announced that New Vegas 2 was considered. Whatever they could have done, and they could have done it up big, right? And they chose to, you know, squander an incredible opportunity. Well, next year for Xbox is shaping up to be one of the biggest years for the platform, and they're going to be on display everywhere. It's the 25th anniversary of the brand. Halo Combat Evolved is getting a fresh coat of paint with Campaign Evolved. We've seen some of it in that 13-minute trailer. It looks incredible, right? Gears of War E-Day is finally going to be released. We're going to get a chance to see what happened, what has led up into the Gears that we currently know and love. Forza is finally going to Japan. Holy shit. I can't believe this is happening. You might get Clockwork Revolution, which I believe is a possibility. You also are getting Fable. We're finally going to get Fable. I know that Colt Eastwood had said some things. Until I'm told otherwise, Fable is next year because it was supposed to be this year, and it was pushed back. Craig Duncan, I believe, is the one that said, no, we need some more time for it. So they're doing some extra work with it. Fine. You know, the next Call of Duty is going to be Modern Warfare 4 by Infinity Ward next fall. There's a lot going on for Xbox, but here is where the opportunity that I'm trying to paint this picture. And folks, apologies for being long-winded, but I need context to get to where I'm going. So walk with me on this, right? If they show off this partnered potential glimpse into Magnus for next year, there are quite a few big implications. One, we already know that people are interested in higher end hardware because the series the series consoles, they're selling what they're selling, which isn't a lot. But they released two handheld devices in the Ally and the Ally X. And the Ally X we just talked about it, is selling out. People are buying it in bulk because now could it be scalpers? Absolutely. But it also is a lot of people. I keep seeing in my feeds every day, hey, I got my Ally. People are taking pictures and they're playing and they're enjoying it. Well, this is an opportunity for Xbox to close out what I believe to be one of the best years the platform and brand has ever had. They have, as of today, a dozen first-party releases of every ilk and size, from the indies to something as big as Black Ops 7. So it may not be every game for you. Maybe of the 12, you like 6, you like 7 of them, but that's still 12 releases from one publisher. That's an insane amount of games in 1 year. If you show up to the Game Awards, which is the most watched show, and you show potentially a piece of partnered hardware for next year, that is going to set them on a path, because January is going to levy their next developers direct, which could include Fable, Forza Horizon 6, and a couple of surprises. Right? That's how they're going to start their 26, which is big. But this is where it gets super pointed and super interesting. So we know, thanks to several of the PlayStation insiders, that, and again, I use the term loosely, Sony has sent a team of engineers to work side by side with Rockstar to get this game running at 60 frames. Now, whether that actually happens or not, I don't know, but that is what has been reported. Well, here's an interesting thought and theory. The 15th of November of next year is the 25th anniversary of the platform. That happens to fall on a Sunday. So they obviously have to do the celebration before or the day after. But if there was a console to be released, what releases a couple of days after that? Grand Theft Auto 6 on the 19th. And if you could somehow tout that the best place to play Grand Theft Auto at 60 frames, with all the bells and whistles on this piece of Magnus hardware, it is going to steal the narrative from Sony's PlayStation 5 Pro. And I think that, again, this all has to play out. Is it going to? Probably not. I probably pitched an incredible idea that people are in the chat are getting excited about, and it's going to probably end up like a wet fart. None of this is going to happen. I'm like, boom, you see, you got it roll wrong. And it's possible, because what I just pitched is what a marketing guy that makes 6 figures is supposed to pitch to the bigs. See, I'm still waiting for the call, Phil. The call has not happened. Get me in the seat. Get me 45 minutes in the seat, and I'll sell you a $1 billion idea. Is this going to happen, folks? I have no idea. But could it? It absolutely could. Let's get your thoughts on this. Could hardware show up at the Game Awards?
I think it does. And there's a couple of things. And before I sound like some sort of conspiracy theorist, there was no mistake in Valve's timing on announcing their Steam machine. Now, they will tell you a lot of that had to do with, they're about to send dev kits to developers. And as we know in the past, with pretty much any type of hardware, that typically leads to a lot of leaks. So you want to get ahead of that and announce it. Now, could they have waited a week or two? Sure. But I do think, considering how much Xbox or Phil himself works with Steam or Valve or Gabe in general, they've kind of known each other's hand. Gabe knows what Phil and Sarah have been working on, as far as maybe not to the exact specs, but they have a pretty good idea that a certain amount of allotment with AMD and timing for manufacturing is taken up in this window. And the same for Gabe. Phil probably knows that, he was working on some updated AMD chip that's not for the Steam Deck or even the Steam Deck 2 that's going to take up a certain window of manufacturing. So they've kind of known a little bit of what each other is doing. So I do think that timing was to get ahead of not just the dev kits going out, but also get ahead of Xbox's potential announcement. Now, I don't know this to be fact, but I've been saying that even just looking at it from face value, from Xbox's standpoint, that would be the perfect alignment of the planets, as far as when you're having a major anniversary year for a couple of your IPs and the platform itself. What better way to put a stamp on it than to release the next generation of that hardware, or at least show it, even if it's 8 months prior to a pre-order, which I think that whole year 27, where some people have made mention, they're looking for 27. as I said before, October 1st is Microsoft's 2027 year start date. And that would be a perfect time to do your pre-orders for a device that comes out in November. So I do see something, even though I know you're mainly focusing on like a partnered third party, I think it's actually their first party hardware, more so than the partnered stuff. Now, the partnered stuff could make an appearance as well. We've seen how well, and we even talked about how well ROG or ASUS has been a partner with Xbox in the ASUS ROG Ally or Xbox Ally and Xbox Ally X. So I could definitely see in that partnership expanding or continuing with other devices. Basically, something along the lines of the Xbox Ally without a screen that sits below your TV, which is kind of more along the lines of what the Steam machine is, although it's a bit more powerful than a current Steam Deck. But think of it as a Steam Deck on steroids without a screen that sits below your TV. So I can see a partner device closer to that. Will that device hit a 60 frames range? Who knows? There is going to be FSR or software working on the back end to kind of help on that regard. I know the 8 gigs of VRAM for a lot of people is like a non-starter, but look at how well the Steam Deck has been doing, being underpowered and compared to the Series S in a portable where you have less power to draw from. And it's been, even to this day, even though it's like 2+ years old, it's still able to hold its own. So I'm not worried about the Steam machine with its only 8 gigs of VRAM being an issue. Steam is doing some pretty amazing things, especially considering they've done what Microsoft can't do when it comes to ARM. Get 4 or x86 software to run on it, which a lot of people may have overlooked that completely, but that's huge because that means now Copilot PCs and things like that, where they were on ARM chips or Snapdragon chips, now could have a saving grace by wiping Windows 11 and putting Steam OS on it. But we'll see. I mean, unless you're playing COD or any of those other games where Proton is still an issue for anti-cheat and things like that. But back to Xbox in general, considering what Steam is doing or Valve is doing, considering the anniversaries, considering when their calendar year starts, and already the announced partnership, and being able to get these dev kits in developers' hands in ample time for them to do at least resolution bumps and some upgrades to the coding for the games that are upcoming. Because think of it this way, the Xbox One X, as fantastic as that device was, it didn't seem like devs had to do much to make the games run better than what even the PS4 Pro were doing. They just basically coded for the regular Xbox and it automatically had better resolution, better frame rate. The most I think they had to do was allocate the higher res textures that were available for that PC version of that game. So we could see very much the same thing happening with a lot of games moving forward, going into the next generation or cross-gen games kind of thing. But I do think the VGAs is going to be a perfect place for them to announce their hardware. I think it will be their hardware as opposed to third party. But don't be surprised if third party does make an appearance or either something before the show or after the show, because ASUS doesn't need to pay Jeff Keighley millions of dollars to make an announcement. They can do that on their own in a tweet and people would be just as happy. But I think with Xbox, I think their big thing is, one, to show that they're not worried about Steam, which I know a lot of people are like, oh, look, that Steam machine, Xbox is dead. No, it's not dead. It's now it makes it look like, hey, why isn't PlayStation doing a hybrid system? And I know a lot of people are talking about that in the chat, and that just probably puts more of a magnifying glass on Sony at this point, not doing a hybrid, or, hey, where's their PC store? But all of that aside, I would hope, I can't promise, but I would hope that Xbox does seize that opportunity with the VGAs to announce their next hardware, much like they did in 2019 with the Series X, and maybe show a game like, Hellblade. Well, I don't think it'll be Hellblade 3. I think the game that they will probably want to show, and people are going to call me crazy for this, they're going to want to show the next Halo running on that next piece of hardware. Sure, it'll run fine on the Series console, but show what it looks like on the next box or next X generation box or whatever they decide to call it, Xbox Fusion, whatever you call it. Hopefully we'll get to see that at the VGAs, and I think that will, ramp up the excitement for this anniversary year coming next year. So we'll see.
Yep, and again, the Game Awards is only a couple of weeks away, folks. Just like Thanksgiving, we have 2 weeks to Thanksgiving, and then 2 weeks after that. So it's about a month, give or take, before the Game Awards. Big things are going to happen. I think Xbox is going to show up and show out. That's just my that's just my thoughts and theories. I could be 1,000% wrong, but I think even though their marketing team is terrible, they have to be on the same page as what we're talking about. We're just a bunch of podcasters. Everyone here had killer ideas that these folks that are making 6+ figures should be coming up with. This is an opportunity to show up and show out. I hope that they do. And again, we'll see. But we have here a very generous $5 super chat from Pioneer. He goes on to say, this is a difference between product being shipped and products that are actually sold. Yeah, I mean, again, I when it comes to the PlayStation, I don't really want to swim in the waters of, hey, this shipped versus. Listen, Sony said that they have near 84 million consoles shipped. That's the number. It's a lot of consoles, man. People like buying PlayStation 5s. Listen, it's not a slouch machine. It's a really good machine. I don't use it as much because I prefer Xbox, and I only use that machine for single player stuff. Like that. I mean, if there was an Astrobot this year, I'd be playing it right now because that was one of my favorite games last year. If there again, Ghost of Yotai got lost for me because it's a bad game. The game was gorgeous. I cannot wait to play it. It's just I was reviewing 3 games at once and I didn't have the time. So for me, I'll catch it on a sale. It's fine. It's not that I didn't buy it because it was a bad game or it's reviewed poorly. It's a gorgeous looking game. I cannot wait to sink my teeth into it. I just didn't have the time. But yeah, I mean, listen, 84 million of anything is a lot. And right now, like I know that it was run as a negative story by IGN and several others that officially, so every Sony device has outsold every Xbox in the history of life. I mean, okay, wonderful. But who has a platform that is basically making money that's countless? It's not PlayStation. They're making money, but they're not making as much as you think, folks. And there's a lot going on with Sony right now. So when I see stories like that, it just further encroaches my disappointment of games media and why I put them on the pay no mind list. I don't really take anything they say seriously. Pioneer drops an additional very generous $5 super chat. He says, looking forward to Xbox Magnus. Everything else will take a back seat. Yeah, I think even though at times Xbox was criticized for potentially being too ahead of the game, I think they understood that they were going to lose the generation again to Sony. And that's why they didn't have a mid-gen refresh, and that they decided to focus on not only partnered devices, but their own machine, which we all know is going to be a premium curated device. Of course, that comes directly from the president of Xbox in Sarah Bond. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for us here. A big thank you to all of the super chats, channel member chats, and gifted subs that we continue to get here. A big thank you to well over 500 people watching live. So that's a really big deal for us on a Friday morning. Let's get everyone out of here so you can continue your day and get back to playing Black Ops 7, which is what I want to do. And yes, you can play it single player. It scales on the difficulty. You can do some things that you can't. And I know that IGN ran a story about there's no checkpoints and there's no it says here, Call of Duty Black Ops 7 campaign is online only. With no checkpoints or pausing, and will kick you for idling too long. And they gave it a 6 out of 10. I don't know. I somebody in the chat said, and I did check with the AI, and it says you can't play it solo. It's just it scales based on how many people are in your party. So take that for what it's worth. We'll see. Again, if I find that it's a crappy experience, rest assured I'm going to let you know about it, but I got to actually get a chance to play it. Will the Broke Boy Lewis drops a very generous $2 super chat and says, came in late, boom. I sent you 2 articles and DMs. Yeah, I'll check them out as soon as I'm off the show, brother. Thank you so much for that. Crispy Bomb, let's sell the brand. Where can people find you on other podcasts, potentially, Monday show or next Friday show, where not only do they get the crispy truth, you come in tow with the receipts, which you are a receipt keeper. Sell the brand, brother.
At Chris Baum on X, Chris Baum Xbox Live, and yes, I will be on Monday. Shout out to the chat, and gentlemen, as always, it's been fun.
Yeah, awesome, brother. Great. Thanks so much for joining us as always. Silent Cypher here. We'll see you back in a couple of weeks, but sell the brand. Where can people check out some of your work on Blue Sky? But more importantly, are you still involved? And what can you tell us about the Xbox International podcast? Sell the brand, brother. Where can people follow you on Blue Sky? But more importantly, check out those podcasts.
Well, Boom, as always, thanks for having me, gentlemen. Fuzzy, Crispy, always great to see you guys. As far as where you can find me on pretty much every social media except for Twitter. So tag me there, add me on Xbox if you want to play some Call of Duty. I should hopefully be playing some of that this weekend, fingers crossed. Yeah, so Xbox International. So unfortunately, life got super busy for the majority of us. I think Louis is the only one who has a more flexible schedule at this point in time. I benefit of not having kids, I guess. So we're kind of still in a hiatus. I know Sour's been super busy, and Plume, of course, has 2 kids now. So we're all a little bit busier than we were in the past.
Basically happening.
Yeah, adulting is happening, and working is ramping up again, even though usually this time of year it slows down. So yeah, when we do return, we'll be on Wednesday evenings, same time as Boom show, but same thing I always say is, like, whether you watch ours or his at the time, like, you can always go see it afterwards. You can watch the repeat. And yeah, I'm trying to think. So this evening I'll be hanging out with Fuzzy and Fee and Presto on Fright Nights with Ferocious Fee. We'll be talking Clockwork Orange, which Fuzzy will mention some more about. Besides that, you know what? It's a little ways away, but actually I think we are going to end up getting the team together for doing a live stream of the Video Game Awards on XBI.
Nice.
So I think we've got that in the hopper. We're just trying to work out the logistics and make sure that everyone can make it. But yeah, besides that, chat, you guys were awesome. We'll see you online.
Nice, brother. Thanks so much for joining us always. And Fuzzy Belvedere, let's sell the brand of Fright Night with Ferocious Fee, your wife's podcast, which will be live tonight at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And of course, now we know you're talking about a very, very polarizing and weird ass movie in the form of Clockwork Orange. And I'm not talking about Clockwork Revolution. That looks great. Clockwork Orange, I don't know so much about that one. Sell the brand, brother. Where can people subscribe to her YouTube channel, but more importantly, follow you guys on social media?
Oh, as always, love doing this podcast with you, Boom, as well as Crispy and you, Silent Cypher. Just love talking about the industry and all the excitement of new hardware and new games coming out. And it seems like new games almost pretty much every week. Didn't get to talk about tidbits last night. YouTube is
weird.
YouTube AI is kind of weird. So yeah, it hopefully Mav gets everything sorted with that. But yeah, there's a ton of games this week, and as you know, within the next week, Black Ops. Yeah, it's going to be probably one of the biggest titles. But like I said earlier, Tarkov is another game. If you're a PC guy, it's worth a try. And if you're not a PC guy today, but you're looking to get that next generation Xbox, hey, we might be the only ones that can play Escape from Tarkov on a console. But more into that in another time frame. But as always, play games, less social media, more gaming, and be safe out there. Attack that backlog. For our horror fans, it's not as much as your typical horror. It's more of like crime and weirdness, I guess you could say. Clockwork Orange is going to be the movie for tonight. If you haven't seen it, it's definitely worth a watch. I don't know if it's applicable today, but it's definitely a look at how you approach or preventing crimes and the craziness of some of the crimes that may have happened across the pond, at least during, I guess, the 60s or so. But a definitely weird and interesting movie that we'll be discussing tonight. If you haven't seen it, like I said, definitely check it out. But 6 o'clock on Fright Night with Ferocious Feed tonight. I put the link in the chat. Let me just put it in here again. Come hang out with us. You'll hear about some of the weirdness and some of the strange things that happen in the movie, and the, I guess, weird ending as well. But have a safe weekend, everybody. Enjoy gaming, enjoy life, be safe out there, and hope to see you guys for Xbox Lunch Break Special on Monday, 12 noon. Be here, same channel, 12 noon. See you then.
Appreciate it very much, brother. And of course, yes, enjoy gaming on whatever console you enjoy gaming on, folks. But at the end of the day, there are a lot of games to play, and there is no shortage. The only shortage is time, and money too, also. But when you have Game Pass, you don't really worry about that. But ladies and gentlemen, a big thank you to Gamer by Choice, who just gifted 1 Double Barrel Gaming membership. So Gamer by Choice, great to see you here, brother. And thank you for the generosity. We super appreciate it. But again, folks, have an incredible weekend. Enjoy gaming on whatever console you enjoy gaming on. And of course, we're going to close out the show with something that's incredibly important to me. Hopefully one day be important to you. And that's something that my dad taught us when we were kids, when he would say, Craig, treat others how you want to be treated. And also, it doesn't cost anything to be nice. You live by those rules, son. I can guarantee you're going to have an awesome day. So take care, everyone. And we'll see you next week on the newest episode of Breakfast with Boom.